Sego Kahnawake. Ratsénhaienhs Jeremiah Johnson here with you this week for Ratsénhaienhs Report. I have a few things to update. I got to present on our behalf on November 4th at the Senate Standing Committee on Indigenous Peoples. They're debating the amendments to the Indian Act via Bill S2. What it aims to do is correct some writing and some discriminatory practices in the Indian Act. Now, although those are all, great to do and everything, our position is always that you can't fix the problem by putting a Band-Aid on it. The issue itself is the Indian Act, and regardless of how you amend the Indian Act, it's still an imposition of foreign jurisdiction over our people. The only people who should be determining who Ogwehunwe are Ogwehunwe people, and I made that very clear to the Senate Standing Committee. As well, as sort of related to that is through the Kahnawake-Canada Relations file, the team has been working on registration matters and issues in the community. For example, when Indian Affairs registers Ogwehunwe people to their registry, they automatically are registering them to 070 or other communities, and it's always been our position that we need to have a separate list, an alternative list, so that when Indian Affairs does grant status, they don't automatically register them to Kahnawake. Kahnawake has its own membership laws, and we determine who our people are here. We've held to that fact since 2012, and we'll continue to hold that. Now, what is as a result of those talks at KCR, Indigenous Services Canada has agreed to fund a study. So they'll be actually putting some money into some studying in the community as to what our discrepancy list is. We have about 5,000 people in Kahnawake who are registered to Kahnawake, but who do not meet the KKR requirements. So these are those cases of people who, not all of them of course, but where some people who might not have any connection to our community are getting membership status, or they believe they have membership status to our community because they have a band card, and that's just not the case. Well, either way, they've agreed to fund a study so that we could look at that discrepancy. So they seem to be open to negotiations, so I'm very happy with the work that the Kahnawake-Canada Relations team is doing on that area. As you know, we've had a lot of traffic mitigation issues in the community. I'd like to take this opportunity to really thank our community members for being patient. I know it's a really rough time. I want to thank our peacekeepers for the work they've been doing. They've been going above and beyond to help solve a solution, help solve a problem that's really not ours. This issue is because of a lot of the work surrounding our community, and unfortunately, it almost feels like a losing battle sometimes. And community members who also have been stepping up, trying to help as best as they can attest to that as well. So thank you everybody for your patience, and the peacekeepers for their hard work with that. Legislation matters. We're working on KLC, continuing to finish up the process. We're finishing the Type 1 process, moving to Type 2, revamping those. Biggest concern I had when I got on council was the lack of capacity that the Legislative Coordinating Commission had. Now, they had been operating with basically 1-2 people, and the legislative branch of government is a very important branch of government, just as important as the judicial, our justice, or the executive, our council and administrative functions. We're working also on the separation of powers for the legislative and judicial and executive committee, and we noticed that the legislative body, the commission, is actually very top-heavy with MCK, and it should be community members that are doing that. So the new structure which we're working on is going to be very inclusive of community member involvement in the legislative process. I'm happy to say that, like I said, we started out with 2. We have about 7 staff members now. We now have 3 legal counsels on staff, and our staff is growing. That's the most important thing, so that our capacity is growing. We'll be able to move things faster through the legislative process. One of the big concerns the community has is that it takes long to get legislation moving, and unfortunately that is the process. It is long. I've always believed that you can't rush things that are important. If you're going to do something right, take your time and do it slowly and properly. We have to balance that with our legislation. We have to make sure that we have a streamlined process that community members are happy with. So I think that's all I can update on you for this week. Again, I'd like to thank everybody in the community for your patience in this time, of year, and I wish you all a very Merry Christmas and a very safe Christmas. So enjoy your families. Nyawa goa, onigiwahi.